Hey, this is the Entertainment Advice Channel. What I want to talk about today is the topic of the problem with Hayao Miyazaki. Okay, so before this video gets started, I just want to make it clear to people I'm not rage baiting people for this video. Okay, it's not going to be a video where I just sit around and talk bare shit about him, saying he's a terrible director and blah 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 blah. His movies suck, they're boring and stuff. I'm certain if his movies are your cup of tea, they're very entertaining. You know, I definitely am certain his movies are very well structured, very well made, and he's definitely, most importantly of all, has left his impact on the film industry as a whole that will be there forever. So I just want to make that clear. It's not a hate video of him. This is just constructive criticism of him and a lot of the things that he does that I see constantly. Okay, so I just want to make that clear. Okay, so now that I mentioned that, let's get started. So when it comes to the problem with Hayao Miyazaki films, there's two major problems with his films. Okay, the first major problem with his films is that it has one of the biggest issues that I know a lot of movies have, if not most movies, the best movies of all time, is that they have a bad balance between story and actual action scenes. Okay, because the truth of the matter is, okay, don't get me wrong, okay, when you watch a movie, you want to watch something that has a good story. Okay, you want to have something that has a lot of that has a good story. That, of course, due to having a good story, it helps immerse you in the world a bit instead of having people shoot and kill each other all the time. Okay, that is a known fact. Okay, you want something that really make you be in a world of story and just truly appreciate it as a result. Okay, to sum it up, to make a good movie, you have to have a good balance between story and action scenes. Okay, instead of having a movie that's just endless action, it's like a Michael Bay movie from the late 2000s. Okay, so you know. But the thing is, even though of course I know that's true, the truth of the matter is there's a difference between having good balance versus not having good balance. Okay, and obviously when it comes to someone like him, the balance is obviously more in the favor of the story, or I should say imbalance is more in favor of the story instead of it being, of course, a balance between story and action scenes. Okay, because the truth of the matter is when you watch movies by people like Hayao Miyazaki, okay, to put it bluntly, the thing I just want to make it clear when it comes to people like Hayao Miyazaki, okay, he's the type of person who will have a movie that's like 3 hours and 30 minutes long, and you have an hour of the whole movie where nothing interesting happens. Okay, nothing interesting or innovative or anything for that matter happens. It's not even exploring the world. It's just simply aimless, unnecessary character development. Okay, that's the truth about Hayao Miyazaki. Okay, when he makes his movies. Okay, like I said, I'm not saying he's a bad filmmaker. Okay, but this is a constructive criticism of him. Okay, which I know is not just him, but literally all the greatest filmmakers who make the greatest movies of all time tend to have this exact issue. Okay, they tend to have these huge extended parts that sometimes an hour or even more where nothing interesting happens, and that's the problem I have with Hayao Miyazaki. Okay, with a lot of his movies, like obviously the last one that everyone knows is Spirited Away, you know, and a few other ones that he's made, of course, that everybody knows. He just focuses too much on character, on the story part, and not enough on having a balance. Okay, to be honest. Okay, so now, of course, I mentioned that. What exactly by balance? Well, when it comes to balance, it just simply comes down to the fact of the matter that you have to have something what I refer to as time. Okay, when it comes to story and action scenes. Okay, because this channel is known as the Entertainment Advice Channel for a reason. Okay, we give advice on how to make entertainment great again. You know, since everyone complains about entertainment sucking now, we give advice on what we can do to make stuff better. And the truth of the matter is, one of the biggest advices I have given on my channel, and I'll continue to do in the future, is having a good balance between story and action scenes. Okay, which I refer to as the best way I can describe it is like the 30 rule. Okay, you have 30 something minutes, you know, story, okay, where you discuss a story, okay, at the most, okay, 30-ish minutes, not exactly 30 minutes, but 30-ish minutes, where it's just a story, and when it comes to that part, to story is to that part, of course, with the story and stuff, it should only be 30-ish minutes before it's followed by an action scene or something, okay? Um, so that's really about it, okay? You know, when it comes to that rule, okay? Before it's followed by a scene, and once that action scene, of course, is done, you have another 30-ish minutes before you have another action scene or something in one way, shape, or form or another, okay? That's how you make sure there's a good balance between story and action scene, instead of just making the movie just extremely boring at times, okay? So to answer your question in short, to be quite blunt and honest with you, that's what I'm talking about, okay? So there has to be a good balance, okay? Okay, there should be a relative balance, like the 30-ish minute rule, and not necessarily just a 30-ish minute rule, just, you know, because that's what I'm saying. It's going to take some time to actually implement and make happen in real life, which of course would happen through me, you know. But even aside from that, just using common sense, okay, in order to have a good understanding. And the thing about a lot of these movies is that it just doesn't even use a common sense started on the time. It's just boring, you know, for huge drops in a movie. It just has too much character development, and it's a case of it falls for an issue. It's like, okay, we can clearly see you're trying to get your movie critically acclaimed, and that's exactly what I'm trying to say here. It kind of falls in the issue of where I'm trying really hard to get my movie to be critically acclaimed, like get an Oscar award or something like that, you know. And like I said, he's a good filmmaker, but after this, sometimes you can clearly tell when you look at his movies that yeah, he's definitely trying to make his movie look critically acclaimed. And all those movies that are critically acclaimed always have those long ass parts where with unnecessary character development, and the characters, for some weird reason, all the time are speaking at like a whisper level of volume. I don't know why, but they tend to do it all the time, and his movies are no different, okay? So that is the truth of my first part. Hayao Miyazaki, okay, when it comes to movies, okay? The second part that I have an issue with, which of course might be a bit more controversial, but I was surprised here, is the message of his movies, okay? Now, as we all know, anyone who follows his movies, or even remotely knows about him, he is an extreme pacifist, okay? Let alone not an extreme pacifist, you know, he just absolutely despises war, okay, from what I know, okay? And there's a bit of a backstory. His parents fought in World War II, and of course the history of Imperial Japan, and the war crime atrocities they did, and all that type of shit. We all know about that, okay? Anyone who knows the basic gist of his life story, you know, in other words, his biography, okay? All the evil things that he did, that Japan did, and how it influenced his perception on life and so on and so forth, okay? He just hates everyone. He hates violence whatsoever, okay? But the truth of the matter is, you know, aside from, of course, the whole pacifist message, which might not necessarily be the thing I'm necessarily the greatest fan of, because it's not the fact that you're against war, it's the fact that I'm kind of more watching movies for entertainment, you know, not to be bombarded with things that are trying to tell me I'm a bad person because I see the world a certain way. Even once you get past that, a lot of his movies just focus too much on symbolism and have plots that are just way too complicated, okay? And it's just too much stuff going on, it's just too much this, too much that, and it kind of kills the experience. Because when I watch a movie, okay, I just want to sit back and look back. I'm not going to put a lot of time like, what exactly is the plot of this movie? Like, where's this movie leading to? And a lot of his movies are just overly complicated, and it just creates a toxic culture of people who watch movies who say, oh, you don't get it, so it means you're stupid. But not necessarily. I'm just watching a movie more for entertainment. So that's the second problem I have with Hayao Miyazaki, is his movies sometimes just too complex to understand. So in short, to sum things up, this video is just simply a constructive criticism of Hayao Miyazaki and a lot of this type of mentality in films. Because the truth of the matter is, like I was saying before, a film is supposed to be something that's entertaining. It's supposed to be something that's intriguing, something that's enjoyable to watch. Yes, there's messages to it, but overall premise of it is to be entertaining, not just simply something that's meant to just flex how intelligent you are when you make a movie that has unnecessary levels of character development and has an extremely complicated plot that's hard to understand. And that's a problem I have with Hayao Miyazaki. I'm certain he's a good filmmaker. He's made good movies. You know, I'm certain he's a talented person, But the problem with his movies is that it's not as focused as much as possible on being entertaining. It's just more focusing on I just want to flex to prove my intelligence level so I can get extreme critical acclaim. And that's a problem I have with his movies, okay? So anyway, um this is my video. This is all to say. I hope you learned something new from this video. And like I was saying, this is not a hate video towards him. This is just a constructive criticism of him. So we can, through this constructive criticism, help make movies good again, okay? To the level that we, of course, would want them to be, okay? So anyway, this is all to say for this video. And simply put it, just remember, if you like this video, remember to thumbs video up and the subscribe button. And simply put it on mouth. So bye.